Broad Street Sports, the best Philly sports podcast.
The circus that is the Philadelphia 76ers continues to get worse every single day. Not only did the Sixers get blown out by a shorthanded Memphis team last night without Ja Morant, now they fall to 2-12 and have the worst record in the NBA. After that meeting down there in Miami, Joel Embiid comes out and calls whoever released the information a piece of shit. Paul George is hurt. A reporter comes out that Joel Embiid wanted Jimmy Butler instead of Paul George and is upset with the Sixers organization for the choice that they made. Joel Embiid fires back at Tyrese Maxey and basically says what Tyrese Maxey said was a lie. The coaching staff, the entire team, and the organization looks more lost than they could have ever been imaginable. This is not good, folks. This is not good. And this leads me to finally say, I've been holding off for a long time, but I am officially out on Joel Embiid. And now a lot of things have led me to where I am now when it comes to Joel Embiid and the Sixers team. But after what I've heard today, after all that's transpired so far this year, it has led me directly to this point. I can't live with myself to defend Joel Embiid anymore. I can't live with myself to want to see Joel Embiid do good and to want to see Joel Embiid be in the city of Philadelphia anymore. I can't live with myself to be like that. It's over. The Joel Embiid era, the process, the troll, it's over. The fans have lost respect. The organization and his teammates have lost respect. His coaches have lost respect for him. It seems like Joel Embiid is stranded on an island by himself right now. It's a disgrace. Where the Sixers have ended up as an organization is a disgrace. They've ended up 2-12. They've ended up with more injuries than injuries imaginable. They've ended up with a coaching staff that's probably going to get fired in the next, week. They're getting blown out by teams that you never would have thought would get blown out by. Memphis, they should never get blown out by Memphis. They should never get blown out to the Miami Heat, especially when you're up by 20 points at one point. The Sixers, this is not good. This situation will not end well. It will not end well, especially because the fact that you went in and you gave Joel Embiid all this guaranteed money. You extended Joel Embiid. You gave him 3 more years. This situation will not end well, because if it continues to go and the way that it's headed, because that's the way it's going. If it continues to go the way that it is right now, no team is going to want Joel Embiid. And you're going to be stuck with Joel Embiid for the rest of this year and 3 more years after this. It's a problem. No team is going to want Joel Embiid. No team. I said this from before. I said if we were going to trade Joel Embiid, I would trade him for a bunch of picks. I wouldn't say that we need a player in return per se. But I'm all on board for some picks for Joel Embiid. But I think right now, the way it stands right now and the way he's playing right now, no team will give up any picks. No team will give up a player. Joel Embiid has left the Sixers stranded. Joel Embiid has left the Sixers hopeless. And it's a serious, serious issue. It's I don't know how to describe what I'm exactly feeling. because I saw this coming. I saw this coming a mile away. Now I was too oblivious and too blind, and I had the blinders on to see this. I was too dumb to really think that the Sixers were going to end up like this. But I saw it coming a mile away. I saw it coming a mile away. And it all started with Joel Embiid saying he wasn't going to play back-to-backs anymore. That's when it all started. And here we are. He's not playing back-to-backs. He's played his 5th game in 3.5 weeks. He finally scored over 25 points for the first time this year. And he looks lost. He looks confused. The things he's saying to the media, which we're going to get into. This is a problem, folks. Joel Embiid is a serious problem. And I am officially out on Joel Embiid. So here is the first thing that I want to say about this entire situation. Following the loss last night to the Memphis Grizzlies, Joel Embiid was interviewed by the media. And Joel Embiid said, whoever released the information about the meeting is a piece of shit. And now from what we know, whoever released the information is a teammate of Joel Embiid, a coach of Joel Embiid, a PR of the team. The fact that Joel Embiid is going to sit here and call one of his coaches, his teammates, his PR people, pieces of shit. Because information about people trying to hold him accountable is hurting his feelings. Joel Embiid is 31 years old. When is he ever going to grow up? When is he going to take accountability? If I'm a teammate of Joel Embiid, I have officially lost all respect. He's now calling people pieces of shit because they're trying to call him out. They're trying to sit here and tell the media what's going on. Because we've already had our skepticals when it comes to the situation. But now they're just trying to release what we already know is true. And Joel Embiid doesn't like that. Joel Embiid got angry. So if I'm a teammate, if I'm a coach, if I'm the Sixers organization, and I'm hearing Joel Embiid call people in the organization pieces of shit, I've lost all respect for him. He's done. He's done. You're 31 years old. You're the face of the franchise. You're the process. And that's the way you act. You act like a 10-year-old instead of a 31-year-old. Wow. Wow. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, how are you calling people in your organization, your teammates, pieces of shit? How? And he's going to get away with it too. But I think that was the final straw when it comes to this team and the coaching staff and everybody revolving around Joel Embiid, because they're done. They're done. They lost respect for him. They don't care for him. They're done. Joel Embiid has cut ties with everybody on that team. Tyrese Maxey only tried to hold Joel Embiid accountable. And it's backfiring. Not for Tyrese, but for Joel Embiid. It's a problem. And I don't know how else they are going to figure this out, really. So another thing that Joel Embiid sits here and says after he was interviewed by the media last night. Here's what he says. Embiid wanted Jimmy Butler instead of Paul George. I'll say this again. Joel Embiid told the Sixers organization that he wanted Jimmy Butler instead of Paul George. So how does that make Paul George and the rest of this team feel? That he's openly coming out with this information that he wanted his old pal, Jimmy Butler, instead of Paul George. And I think this is a clear representation of the Sixers organization being fed up with Joel Embiid. Because if this happened years ago, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, the Sixers organization would have listened to what Joel Embiid said, and they would have went out and they would have traded for Jimmy Butler. But they finally said, screw you, screw what you say, you don't run us, sit back down, we're going to go and pick up Paul George because this is who we think is going to make the best possible equation for the Sixers to go on a run. The best guy that fits our scheme. They told Embiid to sit down. I can't believe if I'm a Sixers, if I'm a teammate of Joel Embiid, if I'm even Paul George, I don't know how you can play next to this guy. If I'm Paul George, I don't know how you can play next to Joel Embiid. I don't know how you can even pass him the ball. I don't know how you can even look in his direction after saying that he didn't want you and he wanted Jimmy Butler. And he openly came out with that information. I mean, what a disgrace. What a disgrace. Oh, my God. I can't take it. I cannot take it. Here's my thing with that. Joel Embiid, you're 31 years old. You're the face of the franchise. You're the process. And just because you didn't get the player that you wanted, instead you got Paul George, who we thought was going to be a really good player, you can't throw a temper tantrum. You can't not play in basketball games because things didn't go your way. You can't act like a 5-year-old because things didn't go your way. Because the Sixers organization didn't go out and trade assets for Jimmy Butler. You can't throw a temper tantrum because the Sixers organization is fed up with listening to you and listening to the crappy decisions that you make, Joel. It's a disgrace. They're done with them. They are officially done with Joel Embiid. So as we do now in every podcast, we have call-ins. We have a call-in today. We have 3 call-ins for tonight. All of them are about, I don't know, I guess about people being done with Joel. But we will be taking a listen. The first caller here is Alex. Alex, you are on.
Hey, Ryan, I just want to say, shame on you for actually believing in Embiid this year. Shame on you. It is a shame. The dude sucks. Joel Embiid is terrible. We will never win with him. And you kept saying, oh, well, now we have Paul George. We have whoever the hell we just signed. All those players. Oh, Embiid, we got a super team this year. Embiid should be good. Well, guess what? He's not. He's always injured. You know that when we drafted him, he was injured? He got injured during the combine. I mean, are we serious? And you think he's going to lead us to the promised land? You actually bought into the process for another year. For another year, you bought into the process. It's a shame. He is terrible. We will never win with him. We've never won with him. And, for everyone saying, oh, well, he's always, just because he's injured doesn't mean he's good. Or doesn't mean he sucks. Yeah, sure, you can be good and always be injured, but we'll never win with him. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Shaquille O'Neal knows it. Charles Barkley knows it. Everybody knows it. Okay? He is not good. He's overpaid. He's at 30 years old, and name me one center who's still relevant over the age of 30. None, because they all die out past 30 years old, and Joel Embiid's been dying out since we got him. The process is over.
Yeah, thank you for the call, Alex. I'll sit here and I will defend myself. Before we came into the year, I looked at the roster. I saw Joel Embiid. I saw Paul George. I saw Tyrese Maxey. And I said, yeah, this team's going to be good. This team's going to be a super team. That's what I thought. And now I'll take responsibility. I'll take accountability, which is something Joel Embiid doesn't do. But I'll take accountability for what I said. I was all on board with everything that went down. I was all on board with I thought that this team was going to be good. And the statement that Alex made when he said there's no center that was really good after 30. That's true. I mean, the guys that were over 30 and were centers, they showed flashes of being good, being their older self, but it wasn't like in their prime. And we're seeing the same thing with Joel. He's dying out. He's tapped. He's done. And it's a shame to see, but it's a reality that we have to face. But yeah, Alex, I will absolutely take whatever I have to do. I'll take whatever accountability and responsibility for the things that I said when it came to Joel and this new Sixers team, because I thought that this was going to be the year. I thought it was going to be just a new overall team, and it hasn't been, and it probably won't be. And no, but it's a disgrace. It's a problem, and I just don't understand, because here's the thing. Here's another thing I want to touch on. Paul George, although people are going to say I lie, but here's the thing. I wasn't totally on board with the signing of Paul George. I wanted Jimmy Butler. But we went out and got Paul George. I said, hey, we went out, we picked up one of the best players in free agency, if not the best, and brought him here. I was on board with that. I said he's going to help out the team. He can average 20, 25 points. Be good. That has totally came back to bite us. Totally came back to bite us. Paul George may go down as one of the worst contracts in Philadelphia sports history. The guy sucks. The guy stinks. That knee injury that he just hurt again down there in Memphis is never going to get better. That knee injury is going to linger with him for the entire friggin' season. He stinks. He can't score. He can't dribble. He can't facilitate. He looks lost, and he may be even more lost or on the same level of confusion that Joel Embiid is on. So again, he may go down as one of the worst contracts in Philadelphia sports history. He looks like he can go down as another Tobias Harris. They're averaging the same amount of points, 14 points. It's not good. That knee is going to hurt him for a long time. You just paid him a boatload of money. And he's going to take that money and run because nobody's stopping him. Nobody is holding him accountable. He's going to get injured as much as he wants, and he's just going to take that fat check and take it to the bank because nobody's holding him accountable. So like I said again, Joel Embiid, Paul George may go down as one of the worst contracts in Sixers history. He stinks. He sucks. He can't shoot. He can't play defense. He can't dribble. All he cares about is his podcast. And all this drama that's going down with Paul George, with Embiid. It's not looking good. And so we're gonna head in here to our next caller. Our next caller will be Vince. Vince obviously has called in a couple times now, but let's hear what Vince has to say. Vince, you are on.
So I'm out on Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid really just, look at around the league and look at what the centers are doing around the league. Anthony Davis, MVP candidate. We have Giannis playing well. He's not a big, he's a power forward, but still, playing very well. Nikola Jokic, MVP candidate yet again. We have these top-notch guys, which Embiid should be, in the hierarchy with. He should be among these guys, and he's just not playing like it. We have Victor Wembanyama dropping 50 points, getting like 7 blocks a game, and our center doesn't even put up 15 plus. His only thing is getting to the line, and he doesn't even get to the line anymore. Joel Embiid is weak. He's weak. We have young players balling like Jared McCain. We have players like Tyrese Maxey on the team who showed up in the playoffs, stayed healthy, showed up in the playoffs. We have Paul George, who's been okay. He's getting some points. He's getting some assists, some boards. He's nothing crazy, but, he's supposed to be your second, third option. So, really, we have players playing, average to their ability. We have players playing beyond what we expect of them, Jared McCain. So now it's your MVP center who's not showing up. And that's just not, showing up on the court. He's not showing up at all. He's late to team meetings. He's dropping 11 points. He's sick. He's hurt. When does the time come when we have to have a sit-down conversation with Joel Embiid from front office?
Yeah, thank you for the call, Vince. When is it time that the Sixers are going to have a sit-down conversation with Joel Embiid about all the things that are happening? Maybe they have. Maybe they did already. And that's the reason that he's throwing his hands up in the air and he's saying, okay, I'll take my fat check and run. That's what he's saying. Now, I don't think that the team meeting that was released after the loss to the Miami is the only meeting that this team has had. I think that the Sixers management with Nick Nurse has sat down with Embiid, Paul George. I think there's been a lot of meetings going on, and nothing is getting resolved. Nothing is getting resolved. So it's a disgrace. So, like Vince said, all these other centers are doing big things. Jokic, Wembanyama, everybody. They're all doing big things. Our guy doesn't even want to suit up and play basketball. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. It's aggravating. And just to go back on what Vince said again, Vince said Paul George is playing average. He's playing okay. I think he's playing below average. I don't think that he's absolutely at the bottom of the barrel. But he's not being the Paul George that he was brought here to be. He's not. He's not putting up the points. He's not doing quite literally anything. And I think that's part of the problem alongside Joel Embiid. Yeah. So another thing, I have two more topics that I want to touch on before I get to our final call in. And one of them being, again, another thing that Joel Embiid said at his media statement last night. Here's what it is. Joel Embiid said, Joel Embiid clapped back at Tyrese Maxey and said that, maybe I've missed 1 to 2 practices. Maybe I showed up. Look, Joel Embiid clapped back at Tyrese Maxey and said, maybe I showed up late to a couple practices while I was injured. He's not taking accountability. Joel Embiid is not taking accountability for anything. Joel Embiid is openly lying. Joel Embiid is openly going against a teammate that's genuinely trying to help him. Because Tyrese Maxey, one of the youngest players on the team, is trying to be a leader and trying to stick up and trying to put Joel Embiid at where he needs to be. And Joel Embiid is too dumb and too immature. The thing that I want to touch on is the fact that we could be looking at Nick Nurse being fired next week. Look, we could be looking at Nick Nurse being fired as early as next week. Because a team can't go on like this. A team can't go on and lose like this, especially with that roster. As much as we blame it on Embiid, Paul George, whatever, it always a lot of the time comes down to the coach. And I don't blame it. I don't really blame this on Nick Nurse, because here's the thing. Nick Nurse is in a tight spot. When the practice started at the end of the summer, he was trying to coach a team and get game plans going with Joel Embiid in the lineup. Then Joel Embiid doesn't want to play, so then he's trying to create a lineup and do things with Paul George in the lineup. Now Joel Embiid and Paul George both don't want to be in the lineup and don't want to play basketball. So now Nick Nurse has to come up with a game plan for both of them not in the lineup. Because it's not working in his favor, because he's got to come up with all these game plans. His game plans change every night. He's got to come up with a totally new offense every night, because you don't know who in the hell is going to play. You don't know who's going to play. You don't know who's going to show up. And that's directly on Joel Embiid and the big stars, man. Another thing on Joel Embiid, man. Another thing he said at his media. Joel Embiid to the media Joel Embiid to the media last night said, I'll take whatever. I'll put everything on my back. I'll do whatever." Of course you're going to have to do that, Joel. You're the face of the franchise. You're the process. What a joke. What a joke. But let's get into our final call in here. This is going to be from Patrick. And Pat, my man, you are on.
Hey, what's going on, Ryan? Patrick here. So I want to touch base a bit on Joel Embiid. I agree with you. I am out on this guy right now. Ever since this knee injury thing began last year, he has not been the same. He thinks he's the guy out there when he goes out and plays. He thinks he can run through this city and do whatever. He reminds me of Ben Simmons right now. He really does. When Ben Simmons just did not want to play games, that's what Embiid's reminding me of now. He's finally starting to play games, but like what Maxey was saying, he was talking about how he kept showing up late to things. He thinks he runs this town, and it is hurting the Sixers. This team has so much talent, and they're 2-11 right now, and look terrible. This needs to be fixed ASAP. I'm happy that Tyrese Maxey called out Embiid last night. I mean, I know Maxey's hurt right now, but we need to see stuff from him. I'm not sold on Maxey yet, just quite yet, about this season with him. Embiid last night dropped 11 points against the Miami Heat. I'm going to be honest. Last year, Joel Embiid, at this time of year, he's dropping at least 30. He would be dropping 30 points last night, a year ago. But tonight, last night, he does nothing. 11 points. This chemistry of this team is being hurt, and it needs to be fixed ASAP.
Yeah, Pat. I mean, I appreciate the call in, Pat. Again, I've said this before as well. Joel Embiid thinks he runs the city. The city has lost respect for Joel Embiid. And, he thinks that he runs the city. He thinks he could do whatever he wants. He's actually, I agree with that. He's actually acting like Ben Simmons. And that's a bad and scary place to be when you're trying to act like Ben Simmons. Give me a break. It's a problem. I mean, it's an entire issue when it comes to Embiid. His knee injury, his knee's never going to be right. His knee's never going to be right. Because when you come in every year 25 pounds overweight, you're never healthy, your stamina's never there, of course your knee isn't going to hold up. Of course you're going to have problems with your knee. It always is going to happen. It's always going to happen when you don't treat your body the right way. Yeah, I mean, I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. I'm done with Embiid. I'm done with Paul George. I'm done with everything. This Sixers team is a hot mess right now. But yeah, man. I appreciate all the call-ins, guys. I love you. I really do. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody that stayed this long into the podcast. This is one of my longer episodes. A lot to talk about, a lot to get into. So make sure you guys subscribe. Go and follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at Broad Street Sports. And if you want to call in, you could DM me on Instagram at Broad Street Sports. Send me a voice message. But I appreciate and love every single one of you. Have a good